This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN SportsWrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Let's get back to strolling instead of scrolling. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your fam.
That's right, y'all. The Black College Baseball Championship Series is back. The Black College World Series return May 11th through 15th to a place where so much black history has been made. Montgomery, Alabama, to the home of the Montgomery Biscuit. That's right. Riverwalk Stadium, in downtown Montgomery, Alabama. The cries have been heard, and Black College Championships LLC is here to answer the call. No longer will the poll determine our champion, as the top baseball teams from NCAA Division II and NAIA meet on the field for Black College baseball supremacy.
But my beats, they are hard.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the BCSN Sports Wrap. Brian Fulford and A.D. Drew here, live and direct. Good to be on with you, Drew. How you doing, my friend?
Happy Palindrome Week to you, my brother. I know it's been a little bit of a somber Palindrome Week for you, but it's been pretty good for me. And for those who do not know what Palindrome Week is, first of all, do you know what Palindrome Week is, Brian?
I discovered it at 2:22 p.m. on February 22nd earlier this week. That's about it. That's all I know. I don't know anything else. I made a wish. That's about all I did.
For those who do not know what Palindrome, I see you asked me too many questions right now.
All right.
For those who do not know what Palindrome Week is, that is when something is written forward and backwards and it's the same thing. So if you have written the date this week, the short version of the date, today being 2/27/22, 2/27/22. 2/27/22. Tomorrow is the last day of Palindrome Week, and we will not see another one of these in our lifetimes, my brother.
Yeah. So yeah, if you include the whole year, then it obviously doesn't count, right? I mean, if
Correct.
you included 2022, it wouldn't count, basically.
Two, two
Right.
zero two two. No, no. But
No. Okay.
see, that's
All right.
still not a
Right.
palindrome because it's 2022. 2020 was a palindrome year.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Anyway, I got to move on. I feel like I
228,
feel like I'm
22
making.
will be your last day.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to make people do math here, and nobody wants to do math at this point. We're here for a good time, not a long time, talking about what's been going on the past week in the HBCU sports landscape. Before we get going, though, I want to thank everybody for watching out there. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you hit that like button on whichever streaming platform you're watching us. And if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, please make sure you're subscribed to that Jericho Broadcast Network's page, so you'll make sure you get the notifications. And also, hopefully, you're a part of our Facebook pages, not only the BCSN, but also our SportsWrap page as well. And then please make sure to go download that Jericho Broadcast Network's app right there in the top right. If you're watching us, Google or Apple Play Store, MyJBN, MyBCSN is how you can search and find us. And you're probably already following us, excuse me, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But if you're not, go ahead and help us out. Any chance you get to help us with the algorithms, it's greatly appreciated. And any shares and mentions, we want to hear from you as well. So we got a busy week, man. It's not only basketball seasons, we got conference tournaments, we've got champions being crowned on the basketball circuit as the CIAA champions were crowned. Shout out to Lincoln, PA, the Lady Lions with a 67-52 win over Elizabeth City State. That was a matchup of 1 versus 2 on the women's side of the bracket. And coming up a little bit later in the show, we got an interview scheduled with Coach Janice Washington of Lincoln. So you'll want to make sure to stay tuned to hear from Coach Washington, who's in her first year. Amazing run. I mean, she had a veteran squad, but amazing run. And so you get a chance to hear from her. And on the men's side, they also had a 1 versus 2 matchup. Fayetteville State completed the job. They left one out there last year. Right, I shouldn't say last year, 2 years ago, when they lost on a pair of free throws to Winston-Salem State a couple of years ago. But they managed to get back as the 1 seed, and they held off Virginia Union, who was the 2 seed, 65-62. So congrats. And Drew, the scary part is when you start hearing statistics like it's their first win since 1973, I start going, whoa, that's like my lifetime. I just felt old.
I was born in 1972, so.
Yeah, I just felt really old. I wasn't 73, but I was close to it. And I feel really old hearing that it's been that long. It's been my lifetime, practically, since Fayetteville State last won the CIAA. So congratulations to the Lions and Broncos for getting it done. Also, we got an interview coming up a little bit later with Florida Memorial University head coach Ansar Al-Ameen. The FMU Lions, after shocking the Sun Conference world by knocking off the 1 seed in the semifinals, go double overtime with a 118-115 win to win the Sun Conference and advance to the NAIA tournament. So we'll be talking to Coach Al-Ameen a little bit later. Of course, we had a couple of good years there where we were really close to the program and got a chance to know him and know the program. So really excited for the folks over at FMU to get that done. As young man Corey Benton was the MVP in that contest. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then a pair of showdowns in the Red River, Drew? Or no, the SSAC, the Southern States. You had a pair of showdowns between Loyola and Talladega, And unfortunately,
The third
Talladega
time in 2 weeks.
third time in 2 weeks. And unfortunately,
Yes.
third time was not the charm. It was not the charm for Talladega, as both the men and women lost to Loyola. And so, Drew, we'll kind of talk a little bit later or maybe next week about their chances of getting into the tournament, into the NAIA tournament. Talladega's men are probably in. What are your immediate thoughts on Talladega women?
Talladega women are in also. That's a 2-bid league, and since both teams made it to the finals, they will be in. The question will be about seeding for both of them, and where they travel to. The NAI has gone away from everyone going to Kansas City to going to regional sites, then advancing to Kansas City. So we shall see with that. The question is, will Steelman get in? Steelman also lost to Loyola 3 times within the last 2 weeks. And Steelman would be officially considered a bubble team when it comes to the NAIA tournament. Their RPI rating and there's another rating that takes strength of schedule into it. I will tell you the name of that rating in just a moment as soon as I pull it up. But Steelman would be it's called ARC, ARC. I don't know what ARC stands for. Don't ask me. But Steelman has a decent, has a very high ARC and RPI. So they could possibly begin. But, a lot of that is determined by if conference winners actually win their tournaments and you don't have any upsets that take a seed away from at large away from a team, then Steelman may possibly get in.
Right. Okay. So
and hold up, Brian. Ironically, one of the people we're speaking to is one of the people that may wind up ultimately keeping Steelman out, as Florida Memorial does not get into the tournament, except for the fact that they made it to the conference championship game. So I do expect there to be at least 2 other teams coming from the Sun Conference. So, that can't happen to Steelman too often in order for them to get in. A team like a Florida Memorial, more power to Florida Memorial. We want to support our HBCUs, but we want all of them to get in, not just some of them.
Yeah, Florida Memorial was a 5 seed. So, like you said, they knocked off the 1 seed. Their final record of the regular season was 17-10. So that's kind of how Florida Memorial ended the season in the NAIA. And those other 2 conferences we mentioned, of course, the CIAA is Division II. So Lincoln punched their ticket into the Division II tournament. Fayetteville State punched their ticket. 1 bid. It seems like the CIAA is probably a 1-bid league, Drew, Division II level, with any
Correct.
anticipation of anyone else getting in.
No, I did take a look at the NCAA rankings earlier today. Obviously, these rankings were before the tournament began last week in the CIAA. So based on last week's rankings, the team that may be out who would have been in is Virginia Union. Virginia Union came in at number 9 going into the CIAA tournament. Another bubble team to watch out for, Brian, that may get bumped by another HBCU is West Virginia State. West Virginia State was sitting number 8 in that same region. In the both conferences filter into the Atlantic region. So West Virginia State is going to have a good showing in their conference tournament, in which they are the number 2 seed, in order to maintain that bid. West Virginia State realistically needs to move up at least 1 spot to allow both institutions to get in, Fayetteville State and West Virginia State. West Virginia State is going to have to move up 1 spot.
Right. Okay. while we're talking basketball, before we get into our hot topic story that I know you and I want to get on, we got to make mention over in the SWAC as the big story in the SWAC is probably that Jackson State's women were pushed to the brink of their first loss in conference play this year. They hung on to beat Texas Southern 87-86 on the road. Never easy to beat people on the road, as you saw yesterday in the men's college basketball, where 7 top 10 teams, or was it 6? Something like, for the first time ever, all 5 of the top. Like yes, for the first time ever, all 5 of the top 5 AP teams lost on the same day. And combine those two with the number 6 and number 9 team, who ironically are on the road, Drew. And I have yet to see what the parlay was on those top 5 or top 6 teams all losing. But somewhere I feel like somebody's walking around with a $5 ticket and might have just won close to $500,000. I'm just guessing. I don't know. I'll have to report back to you and see what those
only if they took
were.
The money line, Brian. Only if they took the money line.
Yes, only if you took the money line. But it makes you think going. When stuff like that happens, Drew. Little side note here. I always want to think. I have to pay attention to these things. When you see all of the top 5 or 6 teams all play on the road, I feel like something crazy might just happen. And yeah, you might just want to sprinkle $5. Instead of going buying a bag of chips and a soda, if you're able, put $5 down and just see what might happen, right?
What the way it's going right now, Brian, I need that $5 for my tank.
Yeah, well, okay. Gas over chips and soda over lottery ticket. I got it. Yeah, I'm right there with you. But yeah, Jackson State got the win. Amisha Williams-Holiday, 29 points in the victory. I mean, by far and away, she's the conference player of the year. I don't even know why it's presumed or guessing. She is the player of the year. So the 15-game streak keeps rolling. There's only 3 games left in the SWAC. And they've already clinched they've already clinched a regular season title. So we're kind of anticipating it's just a matter of, can Jackson State go perfect? We talked a few weeks ago about their streak, and we'll maybe talk about that a little bit later as we go. All right, more basketball a little bit later. But Drew, let's get into the hot topic here while we got some time left. Of course, the big story that's on everybody's minds as of late Friday was Grambling making a decision to hire, or I should say the Grambling football staff making the decision to hire Art Briles, former disgraced Baylor coach, as the offensive coordinator. And so we can go from a varying degree of angles with this, because I think when the story first got leaked out there was earlier in the week, right?
That was actually last week. Yeah. Yeah,
there was just kind of like a head scratching, like, really? You guys are considering Art Briles? But there wasn't really a major media kerfuffle, so to speak. I guess we kind of assumed it was them feeling it out. Throw it out there, leak it out there, let people react to it, and if you get the instant, oh, hell no, you better not hire Art Briles, then maybe you back off of it. But I don't think any of that ever happened. So Coach Hugh Jackson and Grambling, Dr. Travion Scott, the AD over at Grambling, made the decision to bring in Briles, and then it hit the fan. So, Drew, what's your take on the hire by Grambling? Good, bad? Are we still waiting, and where do we go from this? What are your thoughts?
All right, I got a couple of things. Number one, you hear that sound? That's the silence from the people in Jackson, Mississippi, because somebody is finally talking about somebody but Jackson State when it comes to SWAC football.
Right.
So this may be the first show that we've had this calendar year where Jackson State has not been in our A block. Now that I've got my customary Jackson State out of my mouth, it's one of those things you just have to say it. Jackson State.
Oh,
But
stop it.
anyway.
Stop it. Enough. God help you. Please.
See, got me choking over here.
Yes, that's because you said Jackson State too many times. Come on now. Keep it together. We're talking about Grambling. The G.
No,
Come on now.
but seriously, it's kind of interesting when you look at this from a couple of angles. Number one, let's be real, everyone. Grambling leaked the Art Briles story on purpose to see what kind of reaction that they were going to get. So based on, and there's some media company out there who was collecting all this data, looking at all these stories and all the internet chats and Facebook and Twitters and everything else, and doing some type of analysis. Somebody reported back to someone at Grambling and said, okay, we think we can deal with a media hit from this, because they knew that was going to be a media hit by hiring Art Briles. That's number one.
Right.
Number two, it's not often that HBCU sports in general are in the A block of every sports show when news happens with HBCU sports. Every sports show that I watched on, what was this, Thursday, Brian? Wednesday, Thursday? Whichever day this was.
Friday. Thursday night. Thursday night is when it came out.
So every sports show that I watched, Grambling was in the A block, from PTI to Around the Horn to the Sports Center to Shannon and to Shannon Sharp to whatever. This was in the A block. So how they say, you just want to get your name out of media. News is good for you no matter what. This is one of those instances where HBCU was the talk of the town in the A block of every sports show. And we know the A block are the most important stories in any show. Mm-hmm. And then you got the Doug Williams reaction. And I'm going to hold off on the Doug Williams reaction. The only thing that matters to the people that, hold on, let me get this, then we get back to Doug. The only thing that really matters to the people at the G are can the board deal with the decision that they made, which we really haven't heard anything from the board, the president, outside the official statement. How do the donors partake this decision? Not the alumni, the donors. Yes, you're an alum. No matter where you go, your degree says Grambling State University, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And most of you probably still have the student loans to back up that statement that you went to Grambling. I know I still have my student loans to back up the fact that I went to Florida A&M. So there's nothing that you can do to take my FAMU degree away from me. But those are the only people that really matter. And then those players in that locker room. Those are really the only opinions that matter with this hire. Get back to Doug, your Doug comments.
Well, I was just going to read his comments while you mentioned it. And this came out from a Washington Post reporter. I might butcher his name, but it's I'm looking at, first saw it on his Twitter feed. Nikki Jabavla. I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, he's a Washington NFL reporter for the Post. He talked to Doug Williams about the hire. Williams said, quote, "I'm not a fan at all. I'm very, very disappointed in Grambling. I really am. I talked to the AD a couple times. They knew where I stood, but they did it, and that's what they want to do. That's fine. I'm out." Interesting comment. He continued and says, "I know Shaq, James Shaq Harris is not a fan, and I'm not a fan at all. I can't condone it myself." Asked if he would still support Grambling, Williams said, "Oh, no, I can't do that. No, no, no. If I support them, I condone it." Which, the irony of all of that comes from a man who has worked for the Washington, now Commanders, formerly NFL team, formerly the Redskins, who are themselves sitting underneath a scrutiny related to lawsuits heaped on the organization and its owner for a lawsuit in which two alleged women said that, quote, the Redskins had a sexist and misogynistic culture. I'm quote unquote in the lawsuit. I've never heard Doug Williams come out and give two comments worth a penny regarding the Washington football team. But now in this particular case related to his alma mater, and of course, we talked about this earlier, Drew, Doug Williams right now is sitting as one of the two faces of black college football, is he not?
Between him and Coach Prime.
Right. He and Deion Sanders are probably, in terms of publicity-wise and people, when you think black college football, who's the name you think of? You probably think Coach Prime, and then you probably go to Doug Williams from an old school alumni level, and he is the president of the Black College Football Hall of Fame, had a big impact on the HBCU Legacy Bowl. He's sort of become that guy, right? And so it just brings up, why would you make those comments so strongly against Grambling when you yourself are employed by a company, an organization that you've had cheerleaders, you've had executives that they're filing lawsuits currently, and you have an investigation happening currently. There are people who want to throw Daniel Snyder out on the street, which is not going to happen. He removed himself, gave his wife the running power of the team, which really it means nothing because he's in the background running things still. So why would Doug Williams do this, Drew? What's the gain from Doug Williams coming out making his comments the way he did?
I know what's the gain from him not making comments against the Washington Redskins.
What's that?
And that's at the 15th and the 30th. The 15th and the last. The 15th and the last. That's the game.
Okay.
And if those who don't know what I'm talking about is that's payday.
Okay.
15th and the last. All right. So
okay.
Grambling, he gives money to Grambling, and he has all right to withhold money.
Does he?
From Grambling? Hold up, let me finish it. I was gonna say, if he's even giving money to Grambling. Now we know he lives his name to Grambling. There's that new phrase, name, image, and likeness. We know he lives his name to Grambling, and Grambling profits from his name, image, and likeness. Okay. And he then said, now he can rightly say, I no longer lend my name to Grambling. But when he goes out into the street, when he gets introduced at so-and-so and so-and-so.
The Black College Football Hall of Fame.
Okay. He's a former. Here we go. Former NFL quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback for the Washington. What was the name of their team again?
Redskins.
Okay. Former NFL quarterback for the Super Bowl, first black quarterback to win the Super
MVP.
Bowl. Mm-hmm. Super Bowl MVP. And he is a graduate of where?
Grambling State or I think Grambling State University.
You can't take that out the bio. So anytime somebody reads his bio, it's going to be there. Everyone knows Doug Williams is Grambling State. Just like everyone knows Coach Prime is Florida State, Atlanta Falcons, Dallas Cowboys. Now we may forget about the San Francisco gear or the Baltimore Ravens and the Washington Redskins. We may forget about those years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but Atlanta Braves, Atlanta Falcons, that's in the bio. You can't take that out the bio.
Right.
So we can go on and on about this topic, Brian.
Well, look, there's a couple things here that I think need to be brought up because as
Quickly.
one of the things I found interesting, two things real quick. I thought that it, hold on a second. I'm going on the ads on these apps. All right. So I couldn't help but notice my instant thought when Doug comments came out was that there were some Grambling alums who quickly pointed out the fact that, oh, hello, Pot, calling, you know what I'm saying? It was like, here you are throwing stones from a glass house, noting where you work at. And you want to make comments about what Grambling's doing. There were several
Pot's calling the kettle black?
Yes. And so
in that case, it's like we both in the fire.
I don't know if Grambling alums are looking at Doug like, oh, you can't call out this hire based on where you are employed at. You know what I'm saying? So it's like your sheet's not clean. That was one thing. And then the second thing, I think you saw female journalists, especially the ESPN contingent of female journalists. I'm reading an article here I saw an article from Adrian Adelson, who is an ESPN senior writer, covers college football, does a great job. I met her one time, does an outstanding job. These doggone ads, stop playing. She makes note of puzzling comments by Dr. Travion Scott, in which he said the hire was, quote, rooted in fact. In the fact that he's defending the hire of Briles, which, Drew, you just shared an article. That article you shared from 27 Sports that makes note. Briles has been exonerated by not only the NCAA, the University of Baylor, you know what I'm saying? And while he doesn't totally say, hey, I'm not, I recognize that there were some things that could have been done better. I'm probably at fault for some things, I don't want to get in trouble here, but anyway, there are certain things that he brought up. Anyway, he was exonerated, in short, by all of those entities for what happened. So the question is, HBCUs, where we have given coaches and players second and third chances for violations of maybe common decency, common decorum, laws even, is not an HBCU. Is an HBCU not someplace where you can come to sort of reclaim or reestablish yourself amongst society if you are truly intent on doing that? And I think that's what Briles wants to do. Look, it's about winning games. And if he can help Grambling win ball games, which is what they seem to be invested in doing, then that's what the hire is made for. He's not
X's and O's perspective. It's a smart hire from an X's and O's perspective. Purely X's and O's, everyone. Now, when you talk about some of the other stuff, you have the right to question that. And you also have the right to question why he didn't go with a hot shot coordinator or position coach and make him a coordinator. But I think you said it. The pressure at Grambling is to win now. And
now
he is one of the best
Drew,
out there who can do it.
The last thing on this, there is still, there's still that 11th or 12th hour as to whether this hire goes through. I'm reading an article from the News Star in the Louisiana area from this would have been the 26th, which was Saturday, right?
Yeah.
It says Grambling had yet to notify the University of Louisiana system that it intended to hire Briles as of late Friday. Once that happens, Briles will still need a majority vote from a 16-member board to finalize his hire and join first-year Tigers coach Hugh Jackson. The board's next meeting is April 28th. So between now and April 28th, the next month, the PR game will be strong. And I don't know to what degree. Yes.
2 months from tomorrow.
Yeah, it is. To what degree can Briles with the team? But I think that's what the next 2 months will be. and it'll be interesting to see. I'm so tired of ESPN and their page. God bless it.
Bryan, you just answered one question that I had, which is why you haven't heard anything from the Grambling administration. And considering that board meeting is 2 months out, you just answered that question for not only for myself and a lot of people as we get ready to go to break.
Yep. Final quote from the president of External Affairs and Chief of Staff for the University of Louisiana system. Quote, "It's up to the board, and our board takes things very seriously. They're not a rubber stamp board by any means." So there's no precedent within the last 5 years of a football coach's contract or term sheet being denied by the board. So this might be unprecedented territory, and whoever that mob is that goes after Grambling, Hugh Jackson, Dr. Scott, whoever they are, if they're behind with, or I guess running with Doug Williams, it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens. All right, let's go to a break. Coming up on the other side of the break, we've got an interview, one of our 2 coaching interviews coming up on the other side, and we'll get into a little more discussion a little bit later in the show. You're watching a BCSN Sports Wrap. We'll be back right after these words. Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports
Tell everybody
Network.
they can follow their dreams.
Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best Black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for Black baseball's ultimate prize. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes, even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. Number 15?
Never not working!
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Head & Shoulders scalp shield, never not working.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loot machine.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports
Tell everybody
Network.
they can follow their dreams.
And we are back here on the BCSN Sports Wrap. Joining us here today is Coach Ansar Al-Ameen from Florida Memorial University. Championship coach, Ansar Al-Ameen. Coach, I got a chance to watch you guys last year. Did not get the opportunity to see any games this year, but very familiar with you, the program, a lot of the kids who came back. So congratulations to all y'all. Y'all try to spoil A.D. Horn down there. I mean, look, he was doing this when he was in the GCAC. Now he comes over to Florida Memorial and the Sun Conference and yada yada what already. This man don't know how to react to a losing basketball season. So just give us your reactions there, Coach.
Man, first off, I'm extremely excited, man. As you know, you saw the struggles that our program had initially, and this year we made some changes and we got a new AD in, and he was amazing. The amount of information that he had, and the things that he were able to share with us, just to help us along the way through our process, just from his 30+ years of being in this business was amazing, and I lean on him a lot with everything that we have going on, especially now with the national tournament coming up. But you're right, and I called him after the game. I said, we're the first team to get you a championship since you've been here, so nobody could take that away from you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So first reactions when you sit up there cutting down the debts. I mean, we all know the struggle. When coaches come in, you have that little whiteboard that you have at the beginning of the season. We want to do this. We want to win these games. We want to do this, but to actually accomplish it, just tell us about that feeling right there, Coach.
Man, it was amazing, the feeling. Just like you said, you spend all this time talking about stuff. You tell people, when you're trying to win the press conference, you say, hey, I'm gonna come in and we're gonna win championships and we're gonna win national championships and we're gonna do this and that. But people really don't understand how hard it is. It's extremely hard being a champion, have like the clip that you're showing, having the opportunity to cut down the nets. That game we played yesterday, it was 118 to 115 in double overtime. So we fought through everything, and all we did was continue to believe, and us continuing to believe helped us through at the end. So it was amazing, but it was a really rough road to get there.
Let's talk about it. 133 points in a collegiate basketball game, 50 minutes of basketball. If that doesn't tell me anything about your team, that tells me you've got a well-conditioned team to be able to not only to play double overtime, but to put up that many points. And credit to your opponent, Maria, who also played with you. I mean, double overtime and very easily could have went to a triple overtime.
Yes.
So just kind of talk about that as the game is going on, and then regulation, overtime,
So
second
okay,
overtime.
so the end of regulation was crazy because coaches is the what should you do as a coach? Should you foul? Should you not foul? So they made a decision to foul. They were up three and they made a decision to foul, not to give us an opportunity to shoot a three. So my kid goes to the free throw line. He looks over at me. He said, Coach, do you want me to miss the second one? I said, yes. I said, but miss it towards Brent. Brent was the guy that was on the opposite side, was on the right side of him. So he shoots the first one, he makes it. Then I whispered to him, I said, don't step across the line because he tried it earlier in the year and he stepped across the line, violation, you know what I mean? But this time he stepped up, shot the first one, made it. Shot the second one, missed it. The guy didn't block Brent out. Gets the offensive rebound, put it back in. We go to overtime, right? Then in overtime, a similar situation. They had an opportunity to win, and my kid Corey Benton comes down, hits a deep three because they didn't want to foul because of what had just took place. You know, boom, double overtime, and then in regulation, at the end of the second overtime, one of my kids stepped up to the free throw line, knocked down two free throws to put us up three, and then we go 22 defense was just something to try to slow you down, and but I wasn't going to foul because here's my thoughts on it. Well, if I attempt to foul, what if he's shooting it? He's in the motion. Now he's going to go to the free throw line and hit three free throws. So it was a real life chess match, and it was hard. Like you said, both teams played extremely hard, and you didn't want anybody to have to lose that game, but someone had to.
Yeah. And the Sun Conference with probably the Southern State Conferences arguably a 1A and 1B when it comes to the competition in those two conferences. So I have to ask you this, Coach. Obviously, you're in.
Hmm.
Realistically, how many teams does your conference get into the tournament? We know you're a you're a two bid league. Do you get three? Do you get four? Talk to me.
I think I could comfortably say that our conference deserves 4 teams. And I just want you to think about this. The team that finished seventh in our league was 6-3 against the Southern States Conference. That team was seventh in our league. You know what I mean? So it's like, Ave Maria would be the fourth team. Warner, they were co-champions of the league. Warner beat the number one team in the country. You know what I mean? So I definitely think we should have 4 teams in the tournament, and it's going to be different than years past when our conference we went into the tournament and we were one and done. You know, we've all been talking about this year. We get in this tournament, we're fighting not to be one and done. We're going to try to make Sweet 16, Elite Eights, Final Fours, and national championships if we possibly can. But you're going to get the one thing you can bet. The one thing that you
Somebody
can
call and
bet,
congratulate you.
yeah, yeah, for sure. The one thing that you can bet is that we're going to fight. All of the teams in our league. It's like last night. It was a heavyweight fight. And it was an old school heavyweight fight where it was a 15-round heavyweight fight. It wasn't, the 12 rounders. That was 15 rounds.
Gotcha. So we know this year they were originally going to do this last year with COVID. Things were kind of jumbled up. They went with 48 teams instead of 64 teams. But one thing the NAIA has done is gone to regional sites instead of everyone going to Kansas City now. So, do you have a general idea of where you think you may land at, and do you like this format, or would you just rather go ahead and go to Kansas City and get that full NAIA experience? Because that NAIA experience in Kansas City is probably like none other for NAIA programs.
I'll be honest with you. I would love to get the experience, but the one thing about it, and we've been talking about it all morning, where are the potential landing spots for us? Obviously if you look in our region, we have Talladega, which is in Alabama. We got Faulkner, which is in Alabama, and we have Lakeland, Southeastern, which is in Lakeland, Florida. The likelihood of them sending us to Lakeland, maybe not, just because that would make it a second round, a first round matchup between a conference opponent, and they probably don't want to do that. So we honestly think that we'll end up in Alabama at either Faulkner or Talladega. And the interesting part about that is we played both of those teams already this year. So we would go and have an opportunity to play a team that we were familiar with. But I don't know if it's the same circumstances, because when we played both of those teams, it was early in the year, and we weren't playing how we're playing now. So we're a completely different team than the teams that showed up the first time there.
Now, Coach, because of the tournament and when the selections come out, and then the travel after the selections come out, we can have to almost 2 weeks of inactivity against live competition. So, what do you do to stay sharp, to keep that momentum, and to be ready? I mean, we know you're going to be ready to play, but how do we stay sharp for these next 2 weeks?
Well, to be completely honest with you, we're taking a completely different approach. We're giving our guys 3-4 days off to just rest their body, mentally regroup, and then come Thursday, Friday, we're going to hit the ground running again, because we're a team that we practice really, really hard. We don't really have light days. We're going at it full throttle. So because of that, we say, hey man, let's let our kids get an opportunity to mentally regroup, and then once they mentally regroup, we'll be ready to hit the ground running. So I think those few days off will be great for our the young men in our program.
All right, Coach. So um, you've achieved your goal this year.
Not
You've
yet.
been building it. Well, you've achieved your one of your goals this year.
Yes, sir.
You've achieved
Yes,
one
sir.
one of your goals this year. So what is the future for the program now? You're conference champion. Obviously, we want you to be national champion. But what does this leave for you as far as your program, as far as when you get into your recruiting and things of that nature? What does it say about your program going into the future?
I think it puts everybody on notice that we're here and we're trying to make a real stand, and we want to be one of the staple programs in the national tournament. We want to be one of the programs that every year this team's going, that team's going. Florida Memorial will be there because they're going to go out and they're going to recruit the young men necessary to be great. And I think it's just is you talk about these things in recruiting, you talk about these things, in your pressers, and then when you start to accomplish them, people start to say, okay, well, this is actually what he's doing. So like you said, we accomplished one goal. We accomplished one goal, but now it's like we're right here. Let's go finish the job.
All right, Coach. We're getting ready to wrap this up. You got about a minute. The last minute of this interview is yours. Anything you want to get off your chest? Anything you want to say to your fans, your supporters? Anything along those lines?
I think anything that I would say would just be to fans who are in the coaching but just coaches is being in these positions, being in these seats are, is a really hard deal. And people look at coaches and they think, oh, I can do that. And winning championships is easy. And it's not. I look at the coaches in our league. We have a great league full of amazing coaches, but someone had to be ninth, someone had to be eighth, someone had to be seventh. You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. And it's like, outside people look at it and they don't understand how hard these is. Like I was talking to somebody, I said, cutting down that net. Now, you understand why coaches cry. You understand why the emotion comes out because of the daunting task that you have. And you have so many people who don't believe in you. And I was telling my mother, I said, one thing about me is I don't really need a whole bunch of people to believe in me because I believe in myself. If you want to believe in me, that's fine. But I believe in me so much, I know that I can do anything that I want to do. And I want the young coaches out there, just keep believing in yourself. It doesn't matter what people are saying. None of it matters. The only thing matters is what you believe about yourself.
Definitely, Coach. Definitely. And I gotta get one of these out here for you. I call him one of your greatest supporters, Will Marcelin Sincere. He's going to be playing the national anthem at the Miami Heat game on tomorrow.
Okay.
I saw this on his
Okay.
Facebook page, so I definitely wanted to put this up. If you're in the Miami area, or I'm pretty sure the game will be on cable or online somewhere. Go out and support FMU alum Will Sincere as he'll be playing the national anthem at the Miami Heat game. Hey, you got a date off. You might be able to get on over there to the arena, Coach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, Coach Ansar Al-Ameen, we appreciate you joining us here today on the Sports Wrap, and we want to invite you back next week. Once you
Yes,
get your
sir.
announcements, we'll be doing a announcement show like we did last year, so that maybe you can tell us a little bit of something there about your first round opponent.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Coach Ansar Al-Ameen, and we have Coach Washington from Lincoln, PA, coming up on the other side of this break. You're watching the BCSN Sports Wrap with Bryan and A.D. We'll be right back.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best Black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for Black baseball's ultimate prize. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together we can be the change.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
True Black Essentials is a retail opportunity to bring Black businesses under one roof, where every product on every shelf in every aisle will be Black owned and Black produced by people all over the world. Statistics show that the $1.3 trillion of spending power that we have as Black people can easily be turned into each Black person having $2 billion if we were to shop Black for 2 years. So True Black Essentials will launch an e-commerce store on November 1st, 2020, but we will open up brick and mortar stores in Atlanta, New Orleans, Charlotte, Houston, and Jacksonville, with the very first store opening in Atlanta, June 19, 2021.
The top HBCU programs in the nation.
All right, we're back here on the BCSN Sports Wrap. Now, joining us is Coach Janice Washington from the Lincoln Lady Lions in Pennsylvania. That's the original LU, not the one in Missouri, where I'm from, but the original LU. Coach Washington, how are you doing today?
Orange and blue. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for joining us on such short notice. But when you win championships, you get these. All of a sudden, you get these media demands and everything. Now, we've been watching you here on the Sports Wrap because we probably cover more small schools more than most of the HBCU shows. They lean on the MEAC and the SWAC. But we like to get the SIAC, CIAA, and GCAC. So,
we appreciate the love.
Championship. First year at Lincoln. Tell us how that had to feel, And Coach, I got to tell you something. Unfortunately, it's all downhill from here because it's like you can never get this feeling back from winning in your first year. You can win again, but it's down here as far as that feeling goes.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, championships, when you win them, regardless of if you're a player or a coach, they feel just as good as the last time you won one. They're so hard to come by, and like the previous coach was mentioning, there's so much that goes into it, and somebody has to be 7 or 8, and the conference this season on the women's side, and even I think to some extent on the men's side for CIAA play this season, at any point in time, if you didn't show up to play, you could get beat by a team that was in the 12th spot or the 11th spot or the 9 or 8 spot if you didn't show up to play on any given night. But the feeling is remarkable. There's been so much going on within the Lincoln community over the last few weeks and within the month of February. This win was definitely something that the community needed, just to uplift us for even if just a moment of time.
And now, first year of the CIAA tournament, it was held in Baltimore. So how was Baltimore as a host? There are a lot of people out there who were wondering, with the coming from Charlotte to Baltimore, how was Baltimore as a host?
Mm-hmm. I thought it was great, and that's from a completely biased Lincoln standpoint, and mainly because we have a huge fan base, we have a huge alumni base in Baltimore and that DC area. So, a lot of times prior to prior to the CIAA tournament being held in Baltimore, when it was in Charlotte, it was a little bit tougher for the families of those Lincoln players to travel to Charlotte to get the experience, to get the full CIAA experience if they were traveling on the weekends. But it's a question that I've been asked a lot about. I thought that the CIAA and the city of Baltimore did a really good job with regards to hosting the event. And at the same time, my experience with CIAA tournament is a little bit different than the experience that a spectator might have in terms of, all of the extracurriculars. And so trying to maintain your team's focus in the midst of all of those things happening is something that we strive to do, and give them the understanding that we are going to Baltimore for a business trip.
And speaking of that business trip, tell us about that business trip. Why don't you start off with the championship game, and then if you can, because coaches have to have short memory, but if you go back to anything from the previous games that helped you build for, that confidence that you needed for that championship game.
Mm-hmm. Well, even within the championship game, I'll have to preface it by saying, only the internal to Lincoln folks know everything that happened over the course of this week. I'll start with, we were playing extremely shorthanded. I think we played the game with 8 kids, and one was not fully cleared to play because of an ankle injury she suffered in Wednesday's game. And so, with all of the new testing protocols for COVID and things like that, we were down a few players due to those protocols and safety measures that were put in place. But I thought our team got off to a very slow start in the championship game, but we've done that in the past. And because we are a team that can roll off, we've throughout the season, we've shown that we can roll off a bunch of points at once. And so getting down early is not something that I get too overwhelmed or too concerned with, because we do tend to, force a lot of turnovers and, get the ball up the court in transition. And so being down by, I think it was 8-3 at one point in time that we were down, and it just required us to kind of settle into the game and get into a groove. But once we got into that groove, I don't think we ever gave up the lead again. And so being able to not just, take the lead, but withstand punches that Elizabeth City State was throwing, especially at the start of the second half. We were up 10. They came out and hit 2 really quick threes. But then the rest of the quarter, they only scored 6 points. And so we were able to kind of hold them to 12, while at the same time we were struggling in that third quarter to score points, but then got it going again in the fourth quarter, along with continuing to, show a solid defensive front. Defensively, I think we held them to maybe 52 points. I think it was 52 points. And so one of the things that we talked about all week was just keeping opponents under 60 points. And so if you can hold an opponent to that 50, that close around that 50-point mark, you you give yourself a chance, as long as you can do what you need to do on the offensive side of the ball. But Saturday was, we closed it out the way that we should have, in terms of just going out in the fourth quarter and leaving everything out there on the court. But prior to that, like Friday, I think part of the reason we were able to run the way we were able to run on back-to-back days was because Friday's game, we were able to get out quick on Livingstone and do a good job of just rotating players in and out again. On Friday, I think we had 7 players. But it may have been 8. We haven't had more than 8 players this week, and so just being able to go out and do what's necessary and do what your job is something that we talked about all season long. But the game against Livingstone, we really wanted to come out strong, because we didn't have a good first quarter in our game, in our first round game against Winston. And so we wanted to make sure we came out strong against Livingstone, set the tone early, force them into a lot of turnovers, and understand that that game was going to be their third game in 3 days. And so they're going to be tired. You've had a day to rest, but they've had to play. And so what we need to do, in spite of the limitation in terms of the limits on how many players we have, at the end of the day, only 5 can be on the court anyway. And so whatever 5 we have on the court, you got to give it all to me, so that we can do what's necessary to win. the Winston game, we started a little shaky. You could tell that they were nervous a little bit about the bright lights of the CIAA tournament. You know, it's one thing to win the regular season, but it's a whole it's a whole other thing to go into the tournament atmosphere and understand that it's no longer about anything you did over the previous 2 months, or the week in December and then January and February. The conference tournament has nothing to do with that. It's about who can put the best 3 games together. Sometimes, for us, it was Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Sometimes it's 3 days in a row. But the tournament is never about, your regular season. You can throw all of that out of the window, which is why you saw so many upsets as it pertains to the women's side of the brackets. And, you always have to just be ready because, again, the way that the season went in the CIAA this season, anybody could lose if you don't show up and bring your A game with you.
Yeah. Now, coming into the CIAA tournament based on the last regional rankings, which came out on the 20th of February, you guys were number 10. Obviously, you get the automatic bid now by being conference champion. So you'll go up to a number 8, possibly a number 7, but realistically a number 8. Glenville State is the number 1 right now. I believe they're out of the Mountain East Conference, if I remember that correctly.
Correct. Yep.
So, which happens to be home to another HBCU, West Virginia State. Just had to throw that in there. But do you know anything about this potential opponent? Have you even started looking that far? Because even though it's about 10 days, it's about a week or so before you actually get your pairings. But I'm pretty sure you're scouting 1 or 2 opponents that you may be playing already.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually, had the opportunity to see Glenville State early on during the season. They played a lot of the PSAC opponents that we played, and so I actually got to see them in person as well as on film. Just watching film of some of our pre-conference season opponents. Glenville State is a team that plays very helter-skelter style of basketball. They rotate in 5 players about every 30 and 40 seconds, and that was not a mistake. 30 to 40 seconds, they're going to be pressing. They're going to trap every single pass. And 40 seconds later, another group is going to rotate in at probably the next dead ball. The group that's in, they're going to press, go full court. They're going to run. And then they're basically going to give everything they got within those 30, 40 seconds. And then another 5 are going to come right in. And so watching them early on is pretty impressive to see. I believe it was their 3rd game of the season that I saw them play in person, and just watching how quickly they're rotating in, and communication is so key when there's mass substitutions like that, because when players are rotating in and out, it's one thing if it's 2 or 3 people. It's certainly easy to say I have number 10 if there's only one person rotating in, but when there's a constant shift and all of their players can handle the ball, shoot the 3, sometimes the rotation of 5 is 5 guards. Sometimes the rotation only has 1 true post player in it, and so
it's not the same 5 coming in and out every time, is it?
No,
it's whichever 5 she get.
The last time I saw Glenville State, I think they had 13 dressed for that game, and the first couple of quarters, the 5 and 5 are the same. But then in the second half, they were rotating in a couple of those other players that were on the bench in those rotations. But it's a mass substitution every single time, and it's only gonna be like less than a minute. Like, it's never more than a minute that those 5 kids are on the court at the same time.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I've seen people, play 2-3 minutes and 5 in, 5 out, maybe even 4 minutes or something like that. But I've never seen it so it's kind of fresh. And I guess that when they say leaving on court, you might as well, because you're only gonna play for 30 seconds, so you might as well go hard as you can. So I understand this as a former coach. I understand the philosophy. I just never had the talent to do it like that, but I understand the philosophy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I haven't pulled their stats for this season at this point, but I know that when I saw them play Westchester early on, they only had a couple of people, and even midway through the season, there was only like one or two players that were averaging double figures, but there's about 7 of them that average between 8 and 6. And so, having that level of depth is important. And by then, hopefully, we've got a couple kids out on injuries, a couple kids out with COVID, and we'll be back up to our 11, 12 players that we typically roll with.
And that's what I was getting ready to get into. Obviously, you've got a week before the pairings, about 10 days or so before you will play again. So just like I asked Coach Al-Ameen, how do you stay sharp during this time, especially when given your circumstance where you're dealing with not only tired legs, but health issues at the same time, hamstrings, ankles, whatever the case is. How do you stay healthy and stay sharp during this time?
Well, the biggest thing is just to get in, do refreshers. We're not at the stage of the season anymore where we're doing 3-hour, 2-hour long practices. We're on the court long enough to run through some things, get some shots up. At this point in time in the season, if they don't know the plays, then there's not a whole lot you can do about that right now. Having them constantly in the training room getting recovery, constantly on that game ready, constantly icing and things like that. And just reminding them that, yes, school is in session. There's a lot going on the campus. However, recognizing what's most important in the moment is us doing what's necessary to be fully healthy and recharged by the time these NCAA playoff games start. And honestly, I think that we've just got to be able to recognize what it is that we need to do. The coaches will be prepared for whoever it is that we are going to face in those rounds, and just making sure we're executing the game plan. Because at the end of the day, we want to go out and compete. Like, I understand, Glenville State is undefeated. They've gone all the way through their conference season undefeated. But at the same time, you play the game to play the game. And so, we can't just chalk up the fact that, historically speaking, CIAA teams haven't consistently been doing well in that first round. But at the same time, you still got to play the game. And if you want to go win it, you got to do what's necessary, listening to the scouting reports, making sure you understand what it is that we're going to do, and do your best to execute that.
All right. Last minute or so of the interview, Coach. So the floor is open. Anything you want to get out there, and just like Coach Al-Ameen, we'd love to invite you back next week once you find out who your first round opponent is, and give us a couple of minutes of your time if you have time next Sunday also.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I just want to say thank you to the Lincoln community. Thank you to Dr. Allen, our president, as well as Harry Stanton III, our athletic director, for believing in me to be able to lead these young people to a CIAA championship. One of the things that Harry and I speak about is just what this team looks like, and how my style works with the type of players that were on this team. And so I really think they executed that vision clearly. They wanted it. And that's one of the things that you can't discount, how much players want to win. But I'm really excited for the Lincoln community. I'm excited to see these brackets come out. And just, like the previous coach was saying, you just got to keep working and believing in yourself, and just continue to uplift these young people, because at the end of the day, as coaches, that's what we're here for. We're here to help bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be. And I've really enjoyed and I've just been extremely blessed to be here for them throughout their struggles, throughout their victories, and just be somebody that can assist with their growth as young people.
And there you have it, Coach Janice Washington, the Lincoln Lions, Lincoln, PA. How you do it? Right hand or left hand, Coach? Left
right
hand? Right hand. Okay,
right
we'll make sure I get it right. Get it right for the camera. This is not this. This is not this. This is this for Lincoln.
Right.
All right, Coach. Good luck to you. We will be rooting for you in the national tournament.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Well,
we appreciate it. Coach. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, then. Appreciate you, Coach. And with that, we'll be right back. Coach Eric Jackson of the Rusk College Bearcats coming up right after these messages.
Sorry.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best Black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for Black baseball's ultimate pride. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best Black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for Black baseball's ultimate pride. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Joining us now is the coach who has the freshest championship of the three coaches that I've talked to, because he won that championship when it's been about maybe about 3 hours there, Coach, since you won that championship.
That's right.
About 3 hours ago, Coach Eric Jackson of the Rush College Bears. And despite what the graphic says, he is the Rush College women's basketball coach, as the graphic there is incorrect. But irregardless, Coach Jackson, I did not catch the final score. I was watching the game. I was watching the game online. I saw you guys won by double digits. What was that final score once again, Coach?
Man, I'm not sure.
You don't remember.
I'm going to say I don't remember. I'm not even gonna lie. It might have been like 70-48, something like that. 70-50.
Yeah, I know you guys were up by 3 at the half, and then you just opened up a can in the second half. So just go through and tell us about the game. They were leading you guys most of the first half, and then, like I said, you crawled back. You took the lead late in the second quarter, and then that momentum came out of the locker room and just put a run on that just sealed the game for you guys. Take us through the game.
Well, it was just a hard-fought battle, a tiebreaker, if you will, because they beat us last week in their place. And, emotions flying, a lot on the line for both teams, all that good stuff. And, it was just a defensive game at the beginning, and their defense was pretty good, intense, turned us over a couple of times and got in transition, which is definitely their strength. We definitely wanted to play a half-court game with them. And, so they did a good job of that in the first half. Toward the end of the second half, we did a better job of taking care of the ball and crawled back with the lead. And we made some adjustments in the at halftime. And, my team did a great job of selling in on defense, made some shots, did a good job with the press, which is their calling card. That 2-2-1 is tough to beat if you're not ready for it. And, we did a great job of controlling the tempo. My point guard, really, really good guard play, not necessarily on the stat sheet, but just, in leadership and just controlling the pace. Really impressed with her.
Now, your opening round matchup was an interesting matchup. You played Edward Waters, who had not played a conference game, but is still a member of the GCAC conference. While some of the cast of characters for the Lady Tigers and Edward Waters are the same. Obviously, teams change from year to year, and that was a test for you guys. So, just tell us about how that was actually having to face them for the first time in a tournament setting. Win or go home setting.
That is a tough team, no question about that. Senior led group. And it's just I was texting Coach Wilson earlier today, and that had like some real deal championship feel too. Just because we know that, they brought most of their studs back. We brought most of our returners back from last year. And that game in the regular season last year went to overtime. So we both knew it was going to be a really good game, and we just did a good job of pulling it out. But hats off to her as well and her club, man. Well coached team, senior led group.
And I know you guys like each other, but I'm pretty sure there's one tough opponent that you're happy that might be leaving the GCAC, because you don't have to face them when it counts anymore. It'll just be friendly rivalry from now on when you guys
there you go,
Coach Wilson-based team. But GCAC, traditionally a one-bid league. Now I want you to talk about your opponent that you beat today. Does Philander have a chance to get in along with you guys? Is their resume good enough to get in? Help them out. Help them out in the committee.
I think so. Right now I actually serve as the Raider as well for our conference. And I'm also on the art committee with the other regional Raiders in our region. We talk about Philander a lot. I think they have the resume, to be honest with you. They have a top 25 win in beating us. They beat two of the top two teams in the Red River, and both of them are still in their tournament championship. And they're just that good. They got a 20-win season. I think they have enough on their resume to be in a 64-team tournament bid. I really do. And we're going to do everything we can do to make sure we push that.
Now you should have never told me you was on that art committee.
Uh-oh.
I'm glad you can. Please help me understand what ARC is and what its purpose is, because I see it on the NAIA site all the time. Everybody knows what RPI is. ARC is something that's come along over the last 2 to 3 years. So help us out, especially the layman. Tell us about ARC and how it's used as far as when these selections come out.
Well, ARC is basically the regional committee where you rank your region. So the national poll does your top 25, and then you have maybe 10, maybe another 10 or 12 that's receiving votes. But the reality is the top 64 teams go to nationals. And so the idea is the people that are in the ARC get a chance to talk about what's going on in their region, because you're going to need more than a top 25 to determine the top 64. And the people that are closest to those teams can give the other raters in the selection committee a better insight in terms of how to rank team number 50 as opposed to 51, or those last 4 in and the next 4 out, so to speak. And so, and you kind of use different things. You use your ARCs, your conference's RPI as a group, your conference strength of schedule as a group, and all those different things. But your entire body of work is valid, and that's kind of going back, for Lander. I think they have a really good body of work to get a bid there. It's going to be close, but I think they've done enough. Yeah, so that's kind of what the ARC is. They kind of, when you get after the top 30 or so, and you get down, you're talking about splitting hairs, you got a team that's not really been receiving votes. How do you know that team is good? Well, the ARC is supposed to help you with that. And so we have an ARC ranking as well, just like with the top 25.
Gotcha. Now that makes that really helps. That really helps me out trying to figure it out. Just last thing on this ARC, what other conferences are in the ARC with the GCAC that you have to help cover?
The Appalachian Conference. I think their best team is Bryan College out of Tennessee. The Sun Conference. Their best team is Southeastern, who I think is number 1 in the country. Southern States, which is where Talladega transferred to, with Stillman. I think Loyola's at the top of that conference. Yes. And I think that's it. I think it's those 3 or 4.
So that's Florida Memorial, Talladega, Stillman, and then the GCAC teams for those who are curious as to which HBCUs in that ARC that he just covered.
Yeah, so that's right.
You pretty much got all the HBCUs except for the Red River HBCUs. You got a majority of them.
That's correct. That's correct.
In there, so that's good to know. Now, this has been my standard question of the day for all of you tournament winning coaches. How do you stay sharp over the next week? First of all, you got a week before you even know who you're going to play. So you can't even game plan for an opponent because you don't know who that opponent is. Then you'll have another 2, 3, 4 days to actually prepare for an opponent. So how do you stay sharp until you figure out who your opponent is? And then once you find out that opponent, how do you kick it back into gear to get ready for another opponent?
I think the biggest thing is just getting healthy. Playing a 30-game season, getting healthy and staying healthy. And I think that we're going to use this opportunity to really work on our 50-minute practices, because when you get to regionals, that's all the time you have to go shoot on that rim. So, and that kind of leads into my second point, which will probably be for me just shot making, free throws, layups, catch and shoot threes, shooting in your range. All those different types of things are really, really important. And those things, you're going to need to make shots no matter who you play. And probably, especially if you play a team that may be smaller than you, or, just being honest, sometimes we make shots, sometimes we don't. So when we make shots, we're a dangerous, dangerous team. So that's one of the things that we want to definitely work on is just shot making and staying injury free, because I do think that we have our depth is one of our biggest strengths, and that's something that we want to make sure we have on our full deck of cards when we go into regions.
All right. Speaking of regionals, I believe this started. Actually, they had planned to start at the year of COVID, but everything got pushed back. Instead of everybody going to the one site, which is Sioux Falls, I believe it's Sioux Falls, Iowa. I believe is where the women
That's correct.
go. Now they go to regional sites first before they go on to Sioux Falls. Do you like this new format where you go to regionals? Obviously, it cuts down on some travel. It should cut down on some travel. I'll say that. But do you like that, or did you like the full experience where everybody, all 64 teams in one city, playing ball together?
To be honest, I'm just glad we're going. Because we got a chance to go 2 years ago when it was supposed to be in Billings, and that's when COVID showed its ugly head. And then since then, we haven't had a chance to go. So I don't really have anything to compare this experience to. So this is the first time of me going. So I'm just glad we're going. And wherever we go, it's cool. No problem.
So one goal down, obviously, conference championship. Hopefully you accomplish some of those other goals this season. But going into the off season, what does this conference championship mean to your program, to future recruiting, and just the general atmosphere there at Russ College?
I think it makes it easy for myself as a coach when you try to talk to a player and they say, "Hey, how'd you guys do this year?" And it's kind of like "Well, I'm glad you asked" type of situation, because you
see
already
this ring right here. I'll show it to you.
Right. But because you don't have the D1 title, you don't necessarily have the D1 facilities that go with that. And all those different kinds of things. So when you're selling family, and a lot of times when you talk to those kids, they want that family atmosphere. Well, if you're selling that and you're selling a championship type of program, it kind of helps and makes it easy. And then for the regular student, they want something they can cheer for. And so now when our regular admissions team goes out and recruit, they can kind of use that as a recruiting tool as well. Like, hey, you're coming to a team that is used to winning. You come to a school that has a team that you can kind of cheer for, so to speak. And I use Steph Curry and Davidson as an example. When Steph Curry left Davidson, man, there was so many people trying to get in that school after he left that they had to build new dorms. And all those people that's going in those new dorms are not playing the sport. They just want to cheer for a winner. And I'm happy to be a part of that.
All right, Coach Jackson, we're gonna wind this interview down. So I want to turn it over to you for the last minute or two. Anything that I did not ask you that you want to get out? Anything you want to get off your chest? Anybody who you need to thank? The floor is yours right now, Coach Jackson.
Okay, well, first and foremost, man, I want to give glory to God, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and He is definitely the center of my life and the center of this team. So without Him, none of this is possible, man. Just thank my family, my wife, Rashida. She's behind the scenes. She's my coach, so to speak. Thank our president, entire administration team, man. The student activities team got a fan bus actually come down to the game, man, and it felt like a home game in there, man. It was just ridiculous. 3 hours of driving. All the Rustites that came out and all the ones that were watching online. And then even the teachers, that were working with us and help with just getting them their work done and helping them get their work done and all that kind of stuff, man. So just thank the entire Rush College family. And then thank you guys for all that you do with covering us and getting that exposure, man. We appreciate you guys as well.
Well, we're gonna be watching you guys, not only you, but all of our HBCUs that make it on to the national tournament, whether they're Division One, Division Two, or NAIA. We're gonna be watching out for you here on the SportsWrap. And I'm gonna leave an open invitation to you next week, also, Coach. Once you find out your first round opponent, we'd love to talk to you for a couple of minutes and see. Just chop it up for a couple of minutes next week as we'll have our instant reaction show for everyone as they get their first round opponents.
Gotcha. Good deal. Just let me know and I'll be there.
All right. We appreciate you, Coach Jackson. And we want to thank all these coaches for joining us here. But guess what? We actually have more sports wrap coming up. Bryan will be joining me back after this commercial break, and we'll get back into all the news and happenings in HBCU sports. You're watching the BCSN Sports Wrap with Bryan and A.D. We'll be right back.
There's a shot.
That
Right.
might be.
It could be. Right field. Grand slam. What a shot. That's how you get hot, young fella.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do, and all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best Black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for Black baseball's ultimate prize. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
I want you to get the vaccine because I want you to be safe.
I don't want you to be a patient I take care of in the hospital. That's what I'm scared of. I hug you.
Yeah. Love you. Love you too.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Bryan and A.D. here. Thank you for watching the show. We appreciate the interviews and the conversation with the coaches. And hopefully you appreciate them as well. Go ahead and send those coaches an email. Check them out. Or I said an email. I'm old. How about now? Yes, everybody's doing things via Twitter and stuff. Yeah, and Instagram. Back in the day, you'd say go ahead and send them an email. Now it's like, who's checking email? Anyway, but we appreciate the coaches for coming on and sharing their championship feelings with us and. Reach out to them via their athletic pages on social media and let them know you appreciate them coming on and talking with us. We look forward to seeing how they do in the Division II and NAIA playoffs. All right, more news and notes that we want to kind of get through as we talk about some of the basketball things going on. How about this story, Drew, coming out of South Carolina State, where this story kind of dropped? We talk about the Friday news dumps, right? How about late Friday, word comes out via news, and I'm reading from, let's see, this is from WCBD in Orangeburg, South Carolina. A day after
That sounds like oil, man. WCBD.
Don't do it. I was trying to keep going without stopping, but you just had to go there. South Carolina State women's basketball coach Audra Smith had filed a lawsuit alleging Title IX violations. Her employment was terminated a day later. Smith filed a class action and individual lawsuit on Wednesday alleging the university engaged in Title IX discrimination and retaliation and Equal Pay Act violations. Next week, you know, she's fired. It's like, whoa, really? You can do that? Yeah. The lawsuit states that the university has discriminated against women in areas of education, athletics, and employment because of their sex. The complaint also states that the university has engaged in systemic unfair treatment of and continually provided fewer resources to female athletes, women's teams, and coaches. That is a no-no this day and age. I don't know how you get away with that. For example, as the article continues to read, in the 2019-2020 year, men's team coaches made an average salary of $124,888, while the women's team coaches made an average. Drew, do you want to guess what the average was for the women?
What was the men's number again? Because I remember, but I don't remember. 124. If you do this, if you do the standard 70% that they say women make of men's salary, that will put them around 85, maybe.
Ooh, you're way high. An average of 53,131.
Ooh. Wait, yes. and let's be real with that. You know, in that men's salary, we know the football coach is the most. It makes more money than anyone else. So I wonder if you factor out the football staff and the football coach, do they even still get to that 70%? Not saying that 70% is good. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm just curious to see when you take football out.
Okay, so you're talking about. How about this? How about this? In addition, the article reads that same year, only 36% of athletic financial aid was awarded to female athletes. Smith said that she was issued a 3-game suspension earlier in the month for a relatively minor issue. That's always subjective. What is quote unquote relatively minor issue? And believes the suspension was issued because of her inquiries into the school's practices. One day after the suit, South Carolina State released a statement saying Smith's departure. I love this. We would like to thank Coach Smith for her dedication to our student athletes and for the hard work she has committed to the women's basketball game. Period. End quote. That's all they really have to say about it. Smith in her 4 seasons with South Carolina State had an overall record of 24-73. Drew, your take? It's a bad look, man. That the timing of everything is really bad, wouldn't you say?
Look, if you wait 2 weeks and do this after the season, just giving her record, you can get away with this and buy yourself some time if you're South Carolina State. Just based on the record that she's had as a head coach. Now, when you go behind the numbers and why does she have that abysmal of a record, that's when that stuff tends to come out. So, but it's really interesting with that. You know, this is something that in today's age, in today's society, you just can't do it. And when you say 36%, you know, Title IX says for every dollar you spend on a man, you have to spend the same dollar on a female. That's why you tend to see more female sports at universities than male sports. Because when you really sit and think about it, that's why a lot of teams, when they have to drop a sport, they drop a man sport first to stay in Title IX compliance. Yeah, I know you're mad. We're mad because our baseball teams have gotten dropped or other teams, but that's one of the reasons why those tend to be the first teams to go, or men's tennis or men's golf. And you see them add women's bowling, women's golf, women's tennis, and those type sports is because of Title IX. It's not as simple as doing the popular sport or the revenue sport. If you receive federal funding, there are certain guidelines that you have to follow.
Of all of those, we talked about the disparity in the coaching salaries, and you brought up a good point. If Coach Buddy Pugh, Coach Buddy Pugh could very well be earning quite a bit of money as maybe one of the campus's highest paid employees, which oftentimes you have football coaches that are. But the disparity there between the average of 53,000 is pretty bad. But I do agree with you. I think I think that 36% is worse. I think that is a worse number because that's student athletes not receiving, as you said, that's all what Title IX is supposed to be about. Equality for men and women. And if that's not happening, that's a bad look. And look, the timing of the lawsuit, look, South Carolina State's women probably aren't going to make a long run in the MEAC tournament. So dropping this suit right before the end of the season should hopefully raise some questions, or at least for 1 to 2 weeks for South Carolina State. It should make some people, hopefully there'll be some media members out there that will ask the tough questions of South Carolina State administrators and other officials and say, what is going on? And are you all really discriminating against women as this alleged suit says? And, if some local folks don't do it, there'll definitely be some national media folks that will look into it, because I think instead of firing the coach, you probably could have got away with maybe putting her on administrative leave as the transition, as another school did, their coach. You like that transition right there, Drew, right? You saw how transition.
Hard transition.
hard transition. Hard right turn. Speaking of being put on administrative leave, Lindsey Hunter of Mississippi Valley State was placed on leave at Valley back on in the middle of the week. With 2 weeks remaining in the season, Hunter's put on leave. He's in his third year with the Delta Devils. Has a record of 7-72 in 3 seasons. So, I mean, that's bad. I don't know why, it makes you wonder, why wouldn't you just let him finish out the season? I mean, what? And that's curious. This is a great question for Dr. Cavill, who he studies these things and sees the history and knows the history of the SWAC very well. We talked about this in football. It's unprecedented, really, how many guys, coaches, have been let go with weeks left on the end of the season, right? We saw that happen to, my goodness, who we saw this happen to Gramblin's coach.
Yes, Southern.
Southern. Southern didn't let their coach go before the end of the season.
Yeah, Alabama State.
Thank you. Alabama State. Yeah, Dr. Hill Ely was let go. 3-4 weeks before the end of the season. Fobbs was let go. These conferences weren't doing that. That wasn't sort of the history of what these conferences were doing. And so now here's Mississippi Valley State on the basketball side doing what we saw done. And Hunter was, we talked about this move of NBA professionals coming to HBCUs. Was Hunter the first or one of the first in this sort of 3-year run that we've seen?
Depends on who was first, Hunter or Mo Williams, because they were right there together.
Well, Hunter was before Mo Williams. Hunter was a year before Mo Williams, I believe.
Then you answered that question.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens with his son, Caleb Hunter, who is the second leading scorer on the team. He's just a sophomore. Pretty good ball player from all accounts of what I've seen of some Valley games. Let me rephrase. Some highlights that I've seen of Valley games. I'm not gonna lie. Other than the game in which they played FAMU, I don't think I watched any Valley games. maybe highlights, but from all reports, Caleb Hunter is a pretty good ball player. His recruitment might be open. He might be in the transfer portal in a couple weeks, just saying. So
You think you just fired my daddy? You think I'm gonna hang around?
Yeah, that might be a tough call. That might be a tough decision. So
Excuse me,
that
I'm sorry,
remains
you didn't fire my dad. You put him on administrative leave. If he does not come
right.
off of that leave,
He
he's
still
still
has a
technically
job.
employed. So let me retract my statement.
Right, and unfortunately, without Coach Hunter on the sideline this past weekend, Valley lost to UAPB 93-79. So the losses continue. See, it didn't make a difference. So I mean, why did you let him go? But anyway, moving over to the SWAC as I make another hard transition to some scores from Saturday. How about Bethune-Cookman on the road taking out Southern, who formerly was tied in first place? How about Alcorn State on a buzzer beater beating Prairie View 72-69? How about Texas Southern with an 81-66 win over Jackson State? How about FAMU 79-73 over Grambling State? Drew, the men's SWAC continues to be this untold story, and I can't get the standings. As I look right now, the standings are not available here on the SWAC page, but instant reaction as I look for those standings from the SWAC men's.
I saw this on, and I can't find the post that I saw. Someone in that conference office, intern or not, has to sit here and figure out all of these tiebreakers to determine who's going to get in and what combination of victories, losses is going to get your team in. And I have continued to say this, and if see me looking off to the side, I'm trying to find the post that I was looking for, but I continue to say that you do not want to be in the 7 or 8 spot with Jackson State and Prairie View, possibly in those.
So let me give
spots.
you the standings as I see them from CBS Sports. As I said, I can't pull them up on the SWAC page, so I'm going to CBS Sports. Texas Southern sitting in first place right now, 12-4. Alcorn sitting at 11-4 in second. Southern drops to third now, 10-5. Just a half game ahead in the loss column of FAMU, who's now 10-6. Big matchup on Monday against Southern. Big matchup right there. Somebody can move into FAMU could move into third, dropping down to 4 potentially. Grambling now sits in the 5 spot at 9-6 overall. Alabama A&M 2 wins over 500 quietly. Alabama A&M 9-7 right now. Don't sleep on the Bulldogs. And then the 7 seed currently Prairie View A&M 8, and then Jackson at 6-9, with Bethune and Alabama State sitting a half a game behind Jackson State. And you know what? UAPB is, who knows, man. I mean, they could sneak in there and grab that 8 spot. They're sitting at 5-11, so I don't want to discount them because
everybody not named Valley is in the race.
There you go. Everybody but Valley. You're exactly dead right about that. Everybody but Valley still has a shot going into the final week of the regular season. So yikes.
Some teams have 3 games to play. Some teams have 2 games left to play. And yes, I want to see how many times it's going to come down to that single matchup, because it's not a true round robin in the SWAC anymore due to the number of teams. How many times that one matchup is going to determine seeding?
Yes. Yep. Very quickly, over in the MEAC, in the men's side, Norfolk State clinched the regular season. They are 19-6 overall, 10-2 in conference play. Howard's sitting right now at 8-4 in conference play. In North Carolina Central at 7-4. South Carolina State at 7-5. So that's your top 4 teams. Nobody else is buffered in conference play. But as we said, Norfolk State has clinched the regular season in the MEAC, so they'll be the 1 seed going into the tournament for Norfolk State. Very quickly, Drew, the SIAC tournament the brackets have been released for the SIAC tournament. As I quickly try to mention what I see here. Let's see. Over on the men's side. Well, let's do this. Let's take a break. Come back because we got to do our rankings, and I will go to the SIAC's website. I'll be a little bit better on the other side of the break and give a better accounting of what's happening in the SIAC this week. As who are the tournaments that are playing this week, Drew? We talked about that earlier. Who do we got?
Red River is going on today as we speak. Red River Athletic Conference. The Sooner Athletic Conference tournament is going on, but our team in the Sooner Athletic Conference is out of the tournament as Langston's men and women lost last week. SIAC begins on tomorrow. SWAC and BIAC going to their last week of the regular season. CIAA was completed on yesterday, and we still, we've had our interviews with that. CIAA Southern States Athletic Conference was completed on last week, and the Sun Conference was completed on last week, and the GCAC is concluded today with the men's championship, as Russ has already won the women's championships.
Okay, congratulations to Russ and Coach Jackson getting it done. So congratulations there. All right, let's take a break. Come back on the other side. We got our top 5. Yes, it's tournament time, so who knows what these standings will look like, but there's still an active top 5 for our Division I, Division II, and NAIA levels. We'll be back after these words.
It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the pregame. With your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready, because we pregame harder than the other show's party. It's the pregame.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best Black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for Black baseball's ultimate pride. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em. It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom. We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
It's the show where we take you inside.
Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D. here. Want to thank you all for watching us. Hopefully you have hit that like button and that subscribe button already. And if you haven't shared the show, there's plenty of opportunities to share it, because this show you can watch later on YouTube or Facebook, or also podcast on the BCSN Pod Zone. Everywhere you listen and download the podcast, hashtag BCSN Pod Zone. That's all you have to search for, and you can find our shows along with all the other shows on the Black College Sports Network. Okay, so last segment I was very sloppy with the tournament, but I'm better now as I figured out how come we can't get brackets, Drew. We love brackets. Can't make a bracket.
That's too much like right. And because of how some of these conferences do their tournaments, it would be tough with this team getting a bye and this team getting a bye, and
we're missing out on bracket contests. I keep wondering about this. Should we be trying to do bracket contests? I mean, does it make sense to do a conference tournament bracket contest?
It would make sense.
Probably. Yeah, who knows? Would anybody play? It might just be you and me and some bots. But anyway, all right. So the SIC, they start with the opening rounds on Monday, and all these games are being played in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Tournament presented by TIAA, held in the Rock Hill Sport and Event Center from the 28th of February to March 5th. 12 women team, 13 men's teams. If I saw this correctly, all the games, all 23 games will be broadcast exclusively on ESPN Plus. So again, I got to admit, another major coup for Division II basketball, HBCU basketball. All the CIAA games were streamed, and I thought that was a great job. Congrats to the CIAA and everybody who brought that together. That was great to be able to watch those games in that capacity. And you'll get to do the same thing with the SIC. So that's a win. It's a win for HBCUs. We just got to make sure we watch. So anyway, the opening rounds begin on Monday. I'm not going to go through the teams. If you want to look at who's playing who, I would normally tell you to go to the SIAC.com, but if you want a cleaner look, go to HBCUGameDay.com. They did a great job of giving you, in a format that's easy to read, opening rounds, times, game, men, women, who they are. I mean, it's beautifully put together. So shout out to Steve Gaither and HBCU Game Day for making it easy for us to look at, because if you go to the SIC site, I couldn't make out two craps of what I was looking at. But anyway, just saying, be better. Anyway, opening rounds are Monday and Tuesday, and I'm getting in trouble, Drew. So sometimes you just got to tell me to Bryan, keep moving, because I'm gonna get in some trouble. The quarterfinals begin. The quarterfinals begin Wednesday. So the one seeds of the East and West earn the bye. And let's go with the number one seed in the East. On the women's side, that's Savannah State. They start at 12 noon on Wednesday against the winner of Lemoyne-Owen versus Fort Valley State. The number one seed on the West is Tuskegee. Drew, your Golden Tiger, Lady Golden Tigers, clinched the one seed on the West. They play at 4:45. They play the winner of Clark Atlanta and Kentucky State. Over on the men's side, the number 1 seed of the West is Miles. Miles will take on the winner of Fort Valley State versus Kentucky State. That's a 2:15 game. And then Morehouse is the 1 seed of the East. They play at 7 p.m. They will take on the winner of Spring Hill versus Albany State. The other side of the quarterfinals is the 2 seeds. And the 2 seeds are on the women's side. You have Lane College representing the West, and you have Benedict, the number 2 seed on the East. So you have Benedict, there's the 2 on the East, Lane on the West. I thought that was kind of interesting, Drew. We kind of talked about where Miles women might finish, right? And I think Miles women, where did they finish? They finished as the 3 seed of the West. Yep. The 2 seed on the men's side, Benedict men are the 2 seed of the East, and Tuskegee men are the 2 side of the West. So the 1 seeds play Wednesday, the 2 seeds play Thursday, and then by the time you get to Friday, you get the semifinals of the men and women's. The championship games are Saturday at 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. So we look forward to kind of following along with the SIC. And again, go to HBCUGameDay.com. Great job of putting it easily together. 23 games, easy to pay attention to, easy to follow. Great track it where necessary. Drew, any final thoughts there?
Watch out for my Golden Tigers. Think they're going to get Savannah State the second time around, but one of the reasons that you need for a Tuskegee, and we're talking about the women right now, to get Savannah State the second time around is where Tuskegee comes in the current rankings right now. And looking at the rankings, I had the page pulled up, give it about 15 seconds, and I will have it at the South Regional rankings going into this week. It's 9, 6-8. Savannah State sits at number 6. So there's a chance that you could get 2 SIAC teams in the women's bracket. The higher finisher between Tuskegee and Benedict has a good shot to get in. Savannah, if assuming they win their opening round game, will probably get in also. So let's root for 2 SIAC teams. I want Tuskegee to be one of those 2 SIAC teams, but let's sit here and root for 2 SIAC teams to get in, as I doubt very seriously that we will get 3 SIAC teams in. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Finish it.
I was gonna say, speaking of Division II rankings, I'll go ahead and clean that up for us. Lincoln out of the CIAA came into this week number 10. We know they are in by virtue of their CIAA championship. Let's also be on the lookout for West Virginia State, who's number 9 in the Atlantic region, the same region with Lincoln. West Virginia State will need to get on a run at tournament and probably at least make it to the championship game to have a chance at getting into the tournament.
You mentioned West Virginia State. That's what I was doing a second ago. I was trying to see where
they come in as a number 7 seed in the Mountain East on the women's side. They kind of gotten on a losing streak here at the end of the season. The wrong time to get on a losing streak.
Right. Okay. So, but the men
this week,
the men are the 2 seed heading into the tournament. Their first game will be in the quarterfinals on Friday, March 4th. So this tournament for the Mountain East begins on Wednesday, March 2nd, runs all the way through Sunday. So we'll kind of catch heat. We'll see what the West Virginia men do very well. That team could very well find themselves in the mix for the tournament as well. All right, are we ready to do rankings, Drew? We got about 10 minutes left here. We ready to do rankings?
Let's get them in.
Okay, let's start with the Division I top 5 rankings for week number, whatever week this is. Games played through Sunday, February 27th. Division I men's. Let's start from 5 to 1. Number 5, Howard University coming in at number 5, 12-11 overall record. Number 4, dropping down to 4, Southern University, 13-12. As mentioned, they've also dropped to number 3 in the conference standings. Alcorn State comes in at number 3, 12-15 overall. They are the number 2 in the SWAC. Texas Southern is number 2. They are in first place in the SWAC now, 14-11 overall. And then Norfolk State still sitting in the 1 spot, having clinched a regular season of the MEAC. And just on the outside, you've got North Carolina Central, South Carolina State, and FAMU all just outside of the top 5. Should be noted, Alcorn State with the second toughest still among all ATU basketball programs. Prairie View with the toughest schedule, and we've already talked plenty about Prairie View is that team you want to watch for. Any instant reaction on the men's top 5, Drew?
When you talk about that Alcorn State schedule, let's remember, Alcorn State played not 1, but 2 teams this season when they were the number 1 team in the nation, that being Baylor and that being Gonzaga. So that alone is why they have the number 1 schedule.
Good point. All right, top 5 on the women's side. Last week, I think we had 4 MEAC schools. One of those schools has dropped out. 5 now is Alabama A&M, 13-13. Number 5. Number 4, Morgan State, 15-7 overall. Coppin State in at number 3, 14-11. And then Howard sitting at number 2 spot at 15-8 overall. And Howard sitting in first place in the MEAC. And again, it's just a game separating Howard and Coppin and Norfolk State. There's all within a game, 1 to 2 games of each other. So that race will be decided this week by those 4. You already know who the number 1 team is. It's the baddest Tigers in the land. Jackson State, the Lady Tigers are just bad. That's it. Moving on. Any thoughts, Drew?
The race for 2. That's what we have. We've got the race for number 2 right now.
Basically. To Division II level, men's top 5. Let's go from 5 to 1. Virginia Union season comes to an end, 22-7 overall. Finished with the loss, 3-point loss in the championship of the CIAA. Morehouse in at number. Morehouse with an opportunity to move up with a 20-6 record. They are the 1 seed, 1 East in the SIAC tournament. Benedict comes in with a 20-6 record. They are number 3, just a little bit ahead of Morehouse. Miles comes in at number 2 with a 22-3 record overall. And then Fayetteville State with a Fayetteville State sitting at number 1 in the men's bracket right now, 21-8 overall after winning the CIAA. It'll be interesting, Drew, how much that could change based on what Miles and Benedict does or Morehouse SIC.
Just looking at the numbers, Brian, Miles with the SIAC championship will move ahead of Fayetteville State. Miles may even move ahead of Fayetteville State with the SIAC finals appearance, whereas Benedict and Morehouse would definitely have to win the SIAC in order to take that number 1 ranking. And West Virginia State will probably bump Virginia Union out once they with them picking up a win in the Mountain East tournament.
Yeah, and it should be noted, Fayetteville State, third toughest strength of schedule among HBCUs and Division II level. So, and then there's that. All right, Division II women top 5. In the 5 spot is West Virginia State, 17-10 overall. West Virginia State has a top 5 strength of schedule, number 4 actually. Benedict comes in at number 4, 20-7 overall. Of course, they get started in the SIAC tournament this upcoming week. Tuskegee comes in at number 3, 21-4 SIAC starting the CIAA champions, Lincoln Lady Lions coming in 22-7. They are currently sitting at number 2, clearly outpacing everybody is Savannah State at number 1. It'll be interesting. I think Tuskegee getting to the finals might pass Lincoln, Drew, based on numbers. The question is, if Tuskegee were to beat Savannah State, let's just theoretically say if they were to beat them when they played them in the tournament, could Tuskegee or maybe even Benedict surpass Savannah State at number 1?
It's going to be interesting to see what the computers do with that. And then, of course, you've got that public argument to go along with it. But did we just have this debate earlier this year, Brian, in this sport called football, where a team that was not in the, mathematically, according to our computers, could not get ahead of another team. So their rankings. They're out there for conversation. They're out there for a conversation that, so it's going to be interesting to see how the computer says that's going to come out. And I already know assistant coach White will probably be texting me like, y'all computers jacked up if they don't jump ahead of Savannah and they beat Savannah. Now, I'll tell you what would help Tuskegee though, if Savannah were to lose their opening matchup, that would help Tuskegee get there.
All right. Well, that's something to take note of. All right. Moving over to the NAIA, our last 2 polls of the men first, top 5 in the men. We have right now, and if I'm not mistaken, you said this could change, Drew, if I heard you correctly. Right now we have Tougaloo. No, this is solid.
It didn't. Yeah, this is
okay,
solid.
so it won't change. So stuck at the number 5 spot on the men's side is Tougaloo with a record of 18-8. They are locked into the 5. The 4 could change because it's Stillman. Right now, we're just waiting to see whether Stillman gets an opportunity to continue their season or not via an at-large bid into the NAIA tournament. They come in at 19-8. Xavier, Louisiana, locked into the 3 spot, 21-5.
That could change.
Is their season over? I was going to say they've got players.
Xavier's still playing. Xavier plays today. That could change after the result of the Xavier game, which was not entered into the computers in time for us to be able to get that out for today. But a Xavier loss in the first round would allow Stillman to actually go up to number 3. These rankings will become official after all the games are in today, but we had to get them up for right now.
Purposes. Right. 2 is Paul Quinn. Essentially, their season is over as they are unable to play in the Red River. But what an amazing season! It just sets them up for what's going to be a season next year. Lots will be on Paul Quinn when they can actually participate in the tournament and in the play in the playoff scenario. And then, of course, still Talladega, despite the loss in the championship game. They're number 1, 27-5 overall. Only 3 losses. 3 of the 5 losses came to Loyola, who's like the number 1 team in the country, number 2 at least. And so that's a very good season. And Talladega will have an opportunity, I think, to get to that Sweet 16 on the NAIA level. The question is, what seeding and how far will they get sent in the tournament? Right?
Correct.
And Florida Memorial was just on the outside of the top 5. And who knows, Drew? I mean, if Florida Memorial gets in the NAIA and gets a win or two, they could probably move into the top 5, right?
Very easily. Especially Steelman does not advance. And still the season comes to an end. That would be the one team that I would see dropping out if Florida Memorial were to get a win or two in the national tournament.
Okay, here we go. Closing up the show with the NAIA women's top 5-1. Florida Memorial comes in at 5. Xavier women come in at 4, 18-6. Xavier women, they still in the tournament?
Yes, they won today. So that is updated. Yes.
Okay. Talladega drops to number 3 after losing in the championship game, but their season still continues. Philander Smith season technically is over after losing. Well, we think their season is over.
May not be. I guarantee you, they're going to continue to practice and wait until the final.
Might get in that large
bracket comes out. Yeah, they might. They don't have the strongest case, but they are essentially a team on the bubble once again.
Now, you pointed out that if your statistics are correct, you've got them with the toughest strength of schedule in HBCU among all HBCUs. So maybe that is something that is up for consideration given their record and their strength of schedule. That might get them in as a large bid.
We shall see. I mean, it's going to be interesting how that's going to work for them.
Number 1 is Rust. Congratulations again on winning the GC. Coach Jackson finally getting it done. I know the last couple of years Rust had some very strong teams, and they just had some unfortunate early exits in the GCAC, but they persevered through defeating Philander Smith on their own home court. So I know that's had to be sweet for Coach Jackson and the Lady Bearcats. We look forward to seeing what kind of damage they do in the NAIA tournament. All right, Drew, we talked about possibly getting together and doing something because we did not touch a hair of baseball or softball. We may do something tomorrow, maybe.
We're going to shoot for it. So make sure you like and subscribe. That way you can see if we do this tomorrow, and if we do it tomorrow, Michael Coker has agreed to join us for the baseball portion of this show.
There you go. That'll be good. Always love talking to Mike, and got to get caught up on baseball because we got a lot to talk about there, and softball. So baseball and softball. Oh, it's busy this time of year, but I love it. Drew, that's going to do it. Let's get out of here, man. It's been a long show. Appreciate
Let's pick up this show and get out of here.
Exactly. Pick up. If you have any thoughts and comments, send us a note at MyBCSN1. You can hit us up individually on Twitter. You can find me at DRB365. You can hit Drew at BCSN Drew. Let us know your thoughts. More, I'm sure, will be coming out regarding Grambling, regarding South Carolina State, Mississippi Valley State. We want to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them with us, and we'll try to we'll talk about them maybe on one of the upcoming shows. All right, so that's going to do it for this show. For my partner, A.D. Drew, I'm Brian Fulford. Thank you guys out there watching the BCSN. I don't even know what. My goodness, the SportsWrap, the BCSN.
We do so many shows. We don't know what it is.
Stop it! I'm trying to get out of here. BCSN
have a safe flight home, my brother.
Thank you. I'll see you soon from my home studio in Orlando, Florida. That's going to do it. You guys be safe.
All right. We'll holla.
But my beats, they are hard.